Hi, Airell. Thank you so much for
Hello.
your time. Congratulations on a genuinely creepy movie that I think feels very much like a traditional ghost story while not necessarily being that way. Can you tell us a little bit more about the movie?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think our leading lady really leads us through that ghost story as well. Rosina Pavlova, I believe her journey, because she goes on this, takes on this evil advent calendar, says she'll open the doors in the build up to Christmas to see if the devil will take her soul on Christmas Day. And behind all the calendar doors are weird challenges like lie under your bed and picture your own death, or often it's don't sleep tonight because they want to wear her brain down and make her do the other challenges without questioning them. So this all came from the Blue Whale game, which was a really creepy thing in 2016 and 17, where it was a teen suicide cult kind of thing. Something called the Blue Whale was like an internet server based in Russia. And they were telling teenagers who were very vulnerable or depressed to take their lives, but glamorizing it. And that's the part that really freaked me out. They'd say,
Mm-hmm.
"You've got 50 challenges over 50 days. So go to the building that you'll jump off one day and just imagine doing it." And then on day 50, after this kind of missing sleep and all the other stuff, a lot of people apparently would jump off buildings and take their lives and things. So a really disturbing concept. And I thought, what a beautiful thing that would be to examine that by putting it into an advent calendar in the build up to Christmas. And rather than 50 challenges, 24 challenges, and it being linked to the supernatural and evil in that way. Because maybe because it's just so dark and so evil, the human side of that, what people were doing, that to explore it as a Christmas ghost story gives us just a little bit of flexibility because it's just such a tough story what happened to those people that I don't think it would be right to address it head on. So it felt like looking at those themes in a ghost story context would be more interesting. Plus, you've got this kind of, Krampus advent calendar, which I thought was fun. This idea of an advent calendar where you follow the challenges. I'm aware there's another film called The Advent Calendar from France. It's really great, and I really love that film as well. I do think they're very different films because this one is more about the blue whale challenge that came about.
Why did you pick Krampus? Because I'm a big fan of Krampus as a myth, and I think it's very much a underused myth in horror, in film, in all
Mm.
sorts of different, forms of media. And I see you worked with a folklore consultant on the film, which I would love that job. That sounds like the best job ever. Why did you pick Krampus? Is it a story that's always stuck with you?
Yeah, definitely. And it's just the evil Santa, but it's also the fact that Krampus has been referred to as being the devil himself. Not only the Christmas devil, but there are some accounts that he's actually the devil. So I knew that this teen suicide game initially was so evil that it needed a counterpart in the film that was literally the devil. And it felt like Krampus has been done a lot where we show him a lot. And I really like the Michael Dougherty film of Krampus that came out that got mixed responses. I don't know why. I think it's such a great film. But often we have a Krampus where people see it and it's a great monster. Now, partly budget, but also partly because I thought it was creepy. We wanted to have a Krampus where he was more in the shadows and creaks and scrapes of fingernails down the back of doorways. So more of a Krampus as a ghost being conjured up. And because I don't think I'd really seen that before. So Krampus as a ghost felt like, because of the scraping of fingernails down wooden doors in the middle of the night, that could be really creepy. And that's something that we tried to do with the film.
And I think that's really effective. You've got that looming presence all of the time, and that unnerving seeing something out the corner of your eye, thinking, oh, did I just see that? And I think that's really effective. And like you said, it's very different to Michael Dougherty's portrayal of Krampus,
Yeah.
where he is a big looming figure. You've got that constant dread in the background. So I think that's really effective. So good work.
Thank you.
Um, you've done more than one film about Christmas. Are
Yeah.
you a fan of Christmas in general? I think we need more Christmas horror. I'm definitely getting to the point where I only want to watch horror films at Christmas. So this one's added to the rotation. Do you have a particular fondness for Christmas, or are you just giving us what we deserve and more Christmas horror?
I do. I love Christmas horror. So, a few things here. So, Terrifier 3, great new Christmas horror film that came out. One for all the family after Home Alone. Do check that one. Gremlins, all the good stuff. There's so many. I've got a compendium of Christmas horror. I think it just works really well. I think that if you set a horror film in February, it's fine, or March, or whatever, you know. But because you've got the Christmas tree and the tinsel and the folklore with Santa and everything, it's so rich in its tapestry that you kind of shortcut aesthetics. You kind of get this explosion of visual stuff that you can play with so quickly. And I'm one of 11 children. I've got 6 brothers and 4 sisters, which is mad. And growing up, we all enjoyed horror movies. And Christmas is a massive deal. I love it. And I also love films like Love Actually. And I like things like, this will turn my audience. Anyone watching will go, tell me to F off on this. But I do love the Muppets Christmas Carol and all those ones.
My favourite.
Home Alone. They're all brilliant. So I like the light side of Christmas movies, and the ones that are in the middle, like It's a Wonderful Life, which is kind of a horror film in one way. It's so dark. And I also like the straight up Christmas horrors, and I'll try and give one that people don't know so much, oh God, I don't know. There's so many. Yeah, so I can't do that on the spot. There are so many good, like Dead of Night, that compilation. Silent Night, Deadly Night is the most fucked. You know to swear, the most messed
you
up.
You can swear, it's fine.
So famous, like Whistle and I'll Come to You. You know, I forget the name. The Ice House, all of that box set that you can get from the BFI. They're all. So with this one, we wanted to just make this strange little ghost story and add something that was a bit different. And that Blue Whale challenge felt like the thing that was a bit different.
Definitely, I love Christmas horror too. So you can have Home Alone next to Black Christmas, and then The Holiday and Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I love
so what do you think Advent would pair nicely with?
Advent might pair nicely with, one of kind of a ghost story for Christmas. There's one that you can find on YouTube called A Lost BBC Ghost Story, and this isn't on any DVD. But if you Google that and you put that into YouTube, you can find it immediately. It's this weird half-an-hour story about a radio presenter who goes slowly mad after hearing something on the kind of radio show that he's doing. I'm kind of messing up that narrative. But if you find that, that's a really creepy experience. So I'd be honored if it worked with anything like that. Yeah.
Oh, I'll definitely check that one out. Mentioning about YouTube, quite a few of your features and your shorts work with YouTubers and streamers, which I think is a really smart decision for lower budget and indie film producers, because it's such an accessible medium, but also it adds a sense of realism as well, because we're all so used to watching interviews, films, blogs, all sorts on YouTube. It really adds that sense of realism, and you do sometimes forget that you're watching a movie, that you're not just watching something that you'd watch on a Wednesday evening. Was that a really conscious decision to add that realism, or was it because of the accessibility of using the sort of blog platform?
It's a bit of both. We wanted to have a dead YouTuber trilogy, which was a film called They're Outside that we did, along with Werewolf Santa, which was much more of a silly kind of fantasy film, because obviously we don't expect that to be real. And then this one is more of a serious one, a bit like They're Outside. So that was a summer May Day kind of pagan folk horror, and this YouTuber situation. And this one's a Christmas YouTuber situation. I think the thing is that YouTube is going to become the biggest thing ever. It's so big already, and people on it, it does feel very real. The things that actually scare me, because I don't get it from horror, I think they're really comforting, and I love those films. But if I watch a YouTube video of, in our garden, we saw a ghost opening our shed door and a hand creeping around the rose bush or something, and you watch that kind of video, there's something really weird about those videos, because you're not quite sure who shot them or when they were shot. There's that one, have you ever seen that one where a little girl with her mum is walking through a Russian wood, and suddenly the little girl begins flying, and the mum's kind of holding her hand, and then she comes back down to earth, and the mum's like, oh my God, what was that about? and they run off. Now, probably it is faked, but when you watch that footage, it's so weird. And it does give you the creeps because you're not quite sure where it's coming from. It's not as slick as Smile 2, which I love. I love Smile 2 so much. But I think these found footage or hybrids like this one, that's a faux documentary as well, or anything that's got that kind of you're with the characters in the moment edge to it, does link to TikTok and how teenagers are seeing the world much more through social media. So I think found footage is going to become actually quite big. Again, it was massive in 2004 and after Blair Witch, but I think with social media where it is, that will endlessly be kind of innovated within as a genre.
Yeah, I haven't seen that video you've mentioned because I would be too scared. Yeah. Because when like you said, I get comfort from horror movies. I know they're not real, but watching these sorts of things on YouTube, they could be real. And my little lizard brain gets frightened. So that's why I find movies like yours and found footage movies so effective, because you do sometimes forget you're watching a feature film, that you're not just watching YouTube. So I think that's really effective. I believe this is your third movie that's screened at FrightFest now. So congratulations. It premiered at the FrightFest Halloween. You've had great reception at FrightFest. I was there myself the year Werewolf Santa premiered, and I remember there was just such buzz around the film. And I think your movies are perfect for that kind of FrightFest audience where you're watching as a group, you can laugh together, you can jump together. I love FrightFest and I've attended for a few years. Were you part of that FrightFest community before you started attending as a director?
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of what inspired me to go into horror so much. I was there the year that they had this great film called Trick or Treat from Michael Dougherty.
Oh, wow.
Love that film. And John Landis was there. They did a commentary on Thriller. And they had the remake of I Spit on Your Grave that year, which was so intense. Like you could just feel it. It was when it was in that really giant cinema at the Empire, Leicester Square. And it felt like that community... I hadn't seen it as a community. I'd seen it as I love horror. But when you saw that there was a community attached to it, it felt like horror heaven, because you could link with these people for the rest of your life and work with them and enjoy films with them and allow them to motivate you and push you to make scary movies. So FrightFest is very important. Paul McAvoy and all the gang there, Ian Ratry, Alan Jones, Greg Day, they're such a strange, wonderful bunch of people who live these extraordinary lives where they're out at festivals picking up horror movies. Kind of a dream life they live. And so that was really inspiring. But every year, like this year, watching The Substance, it kind of shook the cinema. It's so loud and it's such a wild movie. I'm sure you've seen it. It was crazy, but the FrightFest audience, it felt like that was the right audience to see it with. Whereas if I saw The Substance at the Odeon on a Friday night or Friday afternoon with a different type of audience, they just don't love it enough. So the energy in the room isn't to that explosive level like it is at festivals like FrightFest. So I think it's an amazing event. Yeah.
And you've been lucky to work with horror royalty Emily Booth and Nick Vince several times now, which is amazing. Was it FrightFest you first connected with those?
Yeah, I think it was. Well, Emily, I'm from Hastings. I'm one of 11 children, as I mentioned, in Hastings, in Sussex. And I went to Bexhill College, and so did Emily. And Emily's from Hastings as well. So we had the Hastings horror connection. But yeah, definitely lots of drinks in the Phoenix, the bar that people go to after FrightFest. And Nicholas Vince, yeah, met him through FrightFest. And he's just, as our professor of folklore in this film, has such a gravity as a storyteller by the fireplace, telling you a ghost story. I can't think of anyone better than Nicholas Vince to do that. So both those people are wonderful, yeah.
Well, Airell, thank you so much for your time. Everyone at home can watch Advent on digital download, so I'll encourage everyone to go check it out. Thank you so much for chatting, and Merry Christmas when it arrives.
Woo!
Be good, otherwise Krampus will come.